All right, good afternoon. I will call to order the November 14th, 2024 work session meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the October the 10th, 2024 work session meeting minutes? All right, if I can have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Looks like we're still waiting on a couple. Mr. Ide and Ms. Ide and Mr. Zagabe, how do you both vote? Okay, motion passes. The minutes are approved. We'll move now to the nominating committee. It's that time of year again. I'm going to reappoint last year's nominating committee. That will be Valencia Williamson, Jacob Zagabe, Frida Hartage, and Mr. Jarrett, who will chair the nominating committee. They'll report back to us with the slate of potential members, potential officers rather, on December the 5th. Mr. Greenwood.
Thank you, Chair Power. A number of items under the GMCEO report, so I'll just get right into it to move things along. The first one is the 5 points update. You'll recall that on June 6th, the mayor issued a request for MARTA to pause work on the 5 points project. There's been a regular cadence of conversation and discussion negotiation since that point. You'll also recall that on October 24th, Director Hartage had sought an update in terms of where we were on the 5 points project, and I had committed at that point that the next time we got together, which is today, that I would be providing a summary update. So today I am pleased to announce that MARTA and Mayor Dickens have agreed to move forward with the originally planned 5 points transformation project. That is option 9A reduce, and we're very, very pleased with the outcome of those discussions. The agreement does include a specific modification to allow for ongoing pedestrian access and bus access to 5 points on the Forsyth Street side of the station during construction, and that includes customer access to station elevators and escalators. So we are in the process now of expediting the work, expediting the building permits, and we'll share more specific information about construction timelines and station access and customer accommodation as soon as we can. I just want to thank Mayor Dickens for his continued engagement and his commitment to MARTA's vision of this project. This is a win-win for MARTA, for the City of Atlanta, and for the riders that we serve as we move forward in improving transit across our region. So that's that item. Second up, we have, I wanted to bring to you an update on the alternative funding work that's been going on. You may recall that in the summer, we made a commitment to exploring supplementary revenue to assist with our MARTA's expansion efforts. We've established a 7-member working group. It was chaired by Director Worthy and executed by CFO Hurley. So today, CFO Hurley is here with a strong team to give you an update on that effort. Kevin?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Collie. Good afternoon, Chair Powers, members of the MARTA Board of Directors, and Mr. Greenwood. I'm here on behalf of the Board Alternative Funding Subcommittee with my colleagues Lori Sand and Mayor John Ernst to give you an update on the work the Alternative Funding Working Group has done to date. Next slide. Our agenda consists of a quick review of the project description, a look at peer systems, case studies, funding sources that have or could potentially be used to support transit projects. We then will introduce the discussion of established screening criteria, scenario selection, and modeling efforts, as well as data needs to support the modeling. Next slide. For a quick refresh of the project, the current MARTA penny sales tax is consumed supporting operations in state of good repair for the existing system and is insufficient to support expanding or enhancing MARTA's service. This is all at a time when the Atlanta Regional Commission is projecting the metro population to grow by nearly 2 million people over the next 25 years. This requires MARTA to identify and explore the use of supplementary sources of funding for future expansion. Next slide. With this realization, the MARTA board established an alternative funding subcommittee to assess the current funding structures and identify other sources of supplemental funding. The goal of the exercise is to examine up to 10 potential funding and financing options, develop and evaluate 4 alternative scenarios, and formulate recommendations for implementation. Now I'll hand the presentation over to Lori Sand, and she's going to walk us through the next sections of the work that we've done so far to date. Lori.
Thank you. Next slide. So I'll give you a quick overview of the project schedule. We will have this project completed by the end of June next year. Right now we are working on our peer system case study review. We've identified the systems that we're looking at and some specific projects within those systems to take a look at how they're funded. We're in the process of collecting all of the information around those projects and developing screening. This part of it will be done by the end of January. We'll have a technical report that's compiled all of that information. The next section that we're going to do is the scenario modeling. We have already started data collection for that one. So it's underway now, and that part of it, the model will be built and the scenarios will be completed by the end of March next year. And then the last step is to pull it all together in a technical report summarizing everything with all of the appendices of the data that we collected along with the model, and get that to you by the end of June next year. So for the case study, funding and financing, what systems we're looking at and what funding and financing sources across the top of this. You'll see the funding sources and financing sources that we're looking at. And then down the left side is all of the systems, but also we're looking at locally an SSD that's already been set up. But each of these systems have projects that have been funded through some level of alternative funding to just local dollars and federal funding. So what we found in the very short term is that all of the projects that we're taking a look at, they're using at least 2 or more of any combination of funding and financing scenarios. So we've got a lot of, we're about 60-70% through with collecting all of this information. And we're going to have a pretty robust picture of what projects are out there and how they were structured. So the information that we're collecting throughout this process, all of the information around the project that was specifically funded, its cost, the type of project it is, the status of it in terms of delivery, is it up and running, is it in planning. We're also looking at owners and sponsors. We're looking at how all of the structures of the different funding and financing sources are structured, what agreements are in place. We're looking at required approvals, project equity around geography, equity around who's paying for it versus who's using it, things like that, and best practices and key takeaways. So it's a pretty robust amount of information that we're collecting from each of these systems about the projects. This is just a quick example. We're looking at the CTA Red Line extension in Chicago, and so we just did a quick rundown of what all of the funding and financing sources. So it just gives you a taste of, some of these projects have state, regional, local, the system, a county, a city. There's federal funds, there's local funds, and then there's also a variety of different funding sources depending on how things are structured. So you can see there was a lot there. Next slide. As we have gone through each of the systems, we had the top ones, the top funding and financing sources in blue are the ones that were originally scoped, and we quickly found that there were a lot of other ones out there. Taking a look at their applicability in the state of Georgia, taking a look at what the yield might be, and we will see if any of these bubble up to the top in terms of adding them. But it's been interesting to see things like payroll tax, naming rights, things like that. Next slide. And so moving then into the screening criteria, we need this for both this case study as well as the next task in terms of building the model. So what is most important? What do we need to measure and look at when we're looking at all of these sources? These are some that we've pulled together from a literature review. And so we've talked about yield, and is it front loaded, is it back loaded? Are you going to have money up front, or is it going to take a longer time to get it? Equity, ease of implementation, is it implementable here? Potential revenue leakage, is it a stable funding source? Does it have the potential either through market issues or whatever the case may be in terms of diminishing that revenue source over time? So we'll be working with the working group, the ad hoc committee that you've put together to put these, to go through these screening criteria and determine which ones are most important. Next slide. And then finally, in terms of doing the scenario modeling and the scenario work, we've started, like I said, data collection, and we're going to end up with a financial model that we'll be able to hand over to you, and you'll be able to run specific projects through. We're going to run scenario projects through, not real projects. And then we're going to, there'll be that piece, but then also in terms of any kind of SSDs or TADs, anything like that, we're going to do land use as well. So we'll take a look at buffers around the scenario project. What is the land use value? What is its projected value? How much revenue might that generate? So it'll be sort of a twofold modeling scenario that we're doing. And like I said, that process will be done the end of March. Yeah, and that is the quick update of what we're doing and where we're at.
Any questions?
Okay, thank you, team, much appreciated.
Thanks.
Chair, next I'd like to talk about the rail service that we had on the weekend of October 12th. As you know, MARTA is well accustomed to delivering strong, successful service on a variety of big events, not unlike the Peachtree Road Race or major concerts or major championship games. And most often than not, it goes without a hitch, and the team that's responsible for that is our Chief Operating Officer, George Wright, his deputies, Daniel Heck and Jorge Bernard. However, on the weekend of October 12th, things didn't go right, and MARTA took heat, and more importantly, I think MARTA took responsibility. So here to talk about that weekend, the service, and what went wrong, and what we've learned from that is George Wright and his team.
Thank you, Collie. Chair Powers, board members, and Mr. Greenwood, I want to say good afternoon and thank you for the opportunity to come before you to acknowledge and explain what occurred with our rail service over the Pride weekend last month. First, I want to apologize on behalf of the operations team for the poor service and long wait times customers experience while attending Pride events. Now, like we do for all events, we work from a forecasted ridership model to anticipate the level of service needed, and then we build a service plan from there. That plan consists of placing additional trains into service at specific times to help clear crowds, and that's going to be typically before and after the event. Now, on the day of the Pride Parade, 3 things happened. 1, we experienced an unexpected power outage on the north and south lines that was difficult and time-consuming to fix. 2, crowds were much larger than forecasted. And 3, we had scheduled necessary maintenance work on the trackway that weekend. Now, all of this culminated in extreme service delays and rightfully frustrated and angry customers. Now, while we can't predict things like a power outage, we can, and the operative word is can, have better contingencies in place for when ridership exceeds our service plan. We can look for other opportunities to perform required and necessary track maintenance work outside of busy weekends. And we can improve our communications with customers when service delays happen so they can plan accordingly. Now, moving a lot of people safely and efficiently is something that MARTA does well, and it's a big reason that this region continues to attract large events such as the Super Bowl and the World Cup. In conclusion, MARTA's operations team promises to meet the service needs of these big events as well as the needs of our everyday service with the level of planning and execution our customers deserve. With that, Chair Powers, I'll return the matter back to you and we'll open up for questions.
Are there any questions? All right. Mr. Greenwood?
Thank you, George. Chair Power, next I wanted to talk about our project snapshot tool. You know, we have a new public engagement tool that MARTA's rolling out. It's a snapshot dashboard. It's really meant to keep everyone informed inside and outside of the organization, and really, to lack of a better term, it's really to automate our high standards of accountability and transparency. So here to explain the tool and walk you through it is Ms. Latika Washington.
Good afternoon, Chair Powers, members of the MARTA Board, Mr. Greenwood. I'm Latika Washington, AGM of Strategic Projects in the Division of Capital Program, Expansion, and Innovation. I'm presenting today the MARTA Project Snapshot Dashboard for our capital projects. The intent of the dashboard is to create a public-facing tool for updates regarding MARTA's capital projects, exhibiting project scope, stages or phases, locations, budgets, and spending. This has been a collaborative effort with the Communications and Engagement Team, Capital Planning Projects and Analysis Team, and the CPMO Project Initiation Team. The information for the dashboard comes from our Oracle system, which is the financial system of record, and is posted at the end of each month once financial close is complete. As our projects advance, there are likely changes to project schedules, scopes, and/or budgets. Major changes to these data points will, at a minimum, be updated at each milestone or as the project progresses through the governance process. The initiation of these changes comes from project managers, and once approved, will be updated in the snapshot tool. The MARTA Project Snapshot Dashboard will be accessible through the MARTA website by connecting through the Projects and Project Overview section. Once in the Project section, you'll see the MARTA 2040 Project Overview. This is where the link will be updated or will be placed once approved to go live after additional testing. The team reviewed dashboards from several agencies to review the type of information being shared and how it was being presented. Now I'll take you through the dashboard itself and a few of its functionalities. The main page of this dashboard, the layout came from those lessons learned of the other entities. The team wanted to ensure it was easy to read and the information was easy to navigate. We tried to find a balance of content and background. Colors were reviewed for better contrast for the visually impaired, but by using a solid colored background to decrease visual complexity, avoiding patterns, prints, or stripes that can make it more difficult to focus on objects, and adding a colored overlay to a page to make it easier to read text. Information is also placed and worded to be compatible with screen readers and translators. To the left of the screen, you'll see the filters for that are available in this tool. We filtered by category, which are the type of projects, showing expansion, policy, innovation, and administration, and the state of good repair. We also had filters for project phase, construction, design, implementation, and planning. By jurisdiction, with the City of Atlanta, Clayton, DeKalb, and Fulton counties, and the MARTA program, separating it by, or filtering it by MARTA Atlanta and MARTA Clayton. The total project count of the program is at the top. We have an interactive map or web mapping, and then you'll see the information to the right of each project showing the project description, estimated project costs, the expenditures, the project category, MARTA jurisdiction, current phase, the anticipated completion date, and the date of the data. Now we'll go through a few of the functions and then filters. If we click on the category filter and select the state of good repair, we'll select Brookhaven Station Pavers Rehab. The map will show you the location of the project. To the far right, you see the project description, estimated project cost, the expenditures, project category, state of good repair as we filtered. MARTA jurisdiction is DeKalb County. The current phase of the project is construction. Anticipated completion date of July 2026. And the data is current as of October 31st, 2024. Let's go back to the category filter and reset. We're going to click into the MARTA filter, status filter, and select the MARTA Atlanta. We'll go into the MARTA Rapid Summerhill BRT project. As you can see, the map has the ability to zoom in. You can get a clear picture of the project route. To the right, again, you see the project details. Description, estimated project cost, expenditures, project category is expansion, the MARTA jurisdiction, the City of Atlanta, the current phase, construction, anticipated completion date of fall 2025, with the content updated as of October 31st, 2024. Some of the projects will have a project website where you can click the link to the website. It gives you additional information about the project and collaborates the information that's in the dashboard as well. We'll go back again. Now if we can go into the MARTA Clayton. We're going to select the Clayton County Justice Center Transit Hub. Again, you'll see that the map can zoom in. You can get a clear picture of where the project is located. To the right, you'll see again the project description, estimated project cost, the expenditures. The project category is expansion. This MARTA jurisdiction is Clayton County. The current phase is in planning. Anticipated completion date of February 2028. And again, the data is current as of October 31st, 2024. And this one also has a project website link. This concludes my presentation. A link to the dashboard will be shared with the board and the MARTA Executive Management Team to provide an opportunity to navigate the dashboard and to provide additional suggestions or recommendations prior to going live on the MARTA website. I welcome any questions or feedback you may have at this time.
Any questions? Mr. Durrett.
Thank you very much for the presentation, and Collie, thank you for delivering this. We've been looking forward to it for a while now. My question is about the map. It seemed that you were zooming in to get down to where you could see where the project is, and it wasn't zooming itself.
That's correct.
Well, it seemed like to me that most people would have a difficult time being able to find it on a map.
Okay.
So if there's some way that you can make that more intuitive, or even, I don't know, be able to automatically zoom in to the project,
Okay.
I think that would be of really good benefit to the public that wants to know more about what we're doing and where we are with it.
Thank you. Great
Thank you.
selection. Thank you.
Mr. Frierson.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. And Collie, once again, thank y'all for putting this together. It's something that we had talked about when I first was on the board, first joined the board in 2019. And the dashboard was a lot of data, but really didn't really tell you about the projects and where they are performing. Great information. I think that's important. How is this particular dashboard useful on a mobile device? I mean, I know it's a lot of information there, but is it mobile friendly so somebody could be able to look at it at some of the projects?
So that's a great question. We haven't rolled it out yet to really test a whole lot on mobile devices, but hopefully it will be available or be accessible and compatible with mobile
Great, great.
devices.
And it does communicate the scope of projects that we have across the landscape, 157 projects going
Yes.
on that we're trying to expand at different phases. It is huge. And I hope it gives the public a view as to what we're trying to do to deliver transit across this region in a real way. People often say, well, what is MARTA doing? This is where I will point them to, all right? This is where I
Yes.
will point them to. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Zagabe.
First off, thank you. This is great, and I'm actually going to use this. It's a great tool to visually see everything that's going on. I just had one question. I saw on there that there's estimated. Well, first I saw on there that this is going to be flowing straight from Oracle, which I absolutely love, or straight from our ERP system, which is really important for a transparency standpoint, as well as just keeping up to date. These things become stale when you don't do that, so that's great. Estimated project cost. Just to confirm what that is that our latest estimate of how much the project will cost, or is that the project budget? And I ask because if it is estimated project cost, I could see value in adding the budget, just so we can say from the standpoint of, like, this is a project where, like, there are some projects we come in below budget, sometimes we come above, and
Yep.
just a good bit of showing that out.
So when we looked at some of the other entities and what they were providing in information, how we selected estimated total project cost, that includes what we had in the budget for whatever fiscal year or for the current fiscal year, and then the cost that we are estimating out for, let's say, the 10-year plan. So we know that that number may fluctuate from fiscal year to fiscal year or as the project progresses. So that's why we had it as the estimated project cost and not just the project budget. But we do have on the website our fiscal year budgets on the, as well. So, but we can't add into the budget if that makes it helpful.
No, that's super helpful, and actually what I'm hearing is what I was interpreting as budget is actually the estimated project, the overall project budget. So
Correct.
Sounds like that's what's there. Thank you.
Mr. Pond.
We have hundreds of projects, and probably 30 of those are really important.
Yes.
And I guess I'm going to put the mirror up and say we can fall back and chase lots of small things that are not really critical, and we really need to focus on those 30 projects that are important to the system and to the public. So where are you going to draw the line on tracking all this data? Because if you take all of these projects, that's an awful lot to keep track of. And from my perspective, I'd like to see us focus on the important stuff, spend more time on that than the minor things. So just a comment.
We actually had a lot of discussion about whether or not we put in all projects or feature projects. So we kind of came back to the realization that maybe it was important to show the public all of the things that the agency was doing. But that's an excellent comment and feedback. Thank you.
Yeah. My only concern is that those 30 projects, or whatever that number is, that we need to keep that updated and focus on those in the process. Second quick question, where was this software developed? Did that come out of the program management group, or was that a system we brought in from somewhere else?
Oh, this has been all in-house. Actually, our planning team has actually been the ones helping to do this in our GIS system.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any more questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Latika. And Chair, one more item from me. Chief Counsel Peter Andrews will be reading this in during the regular board meeting, but we are going to ask the board to enact a waiver granting a former MARTA employee, Melissa Mullinax, or actually granting her new employer, HNTB, the ability to continue working with MARTA inside of the 6-month embargo period that normally applies, given the type of work and the importance of the work that HMTB is currently doing. So it's a nod to the Code of Ethics, making sure that the Code of Ethics allows the board to make that decision, and so we're going to place the decision and the question in front of the board during the regular board meeting. And with that, Chair, I'll just talk to some upcoming events of significance. Tomorrow, we're going to do the Clayton County Operations and Maintenance Facility groundbreaking. For those that don't know, this is a very important facility inside of Clayton County that MARTA is very pleased to be a part of. We've long said over the last few years that, you know, this is a bricks and mortar representation of the fact that MARTA is no longer just passing through Clayton County. We live there. The construction project itself will bring 700 construction jobs. And the long-term permanent employment significance of this facility is 400 jobs of varying broad scopes of types of jobs that will also be coming to the folks in Clayton County. So we're very pleased with that. That groundbreaking happens tomorrow at 5163 Old Dixie Highway in Forest Park from 11 a.m. till noon. Also tomorrow, we'll be doing the Andrew Young Bus Reveal event, and that'll take place at the Ray Charles Performing Arts Center, and that'll be on at 2 p.m. till 4:30 p.m. In addition to the regular board committee and board committee meetings, that's the extent of our upcoming events. Riders Advisory Council and MAC committee will be suspended for December for the holidays. And with that, Chair, I return the floor to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Greenwood. I just want to go back to the top of your briefing and tell you thank you for your valiant efforts and for our continuing communications with our partners. I think I speak for everyone that we're excited about the solution and excited to continue to move forward. With that being said, are there any matters for executive session, Mr. Andrews?
No, ma'am.
All right. Well, let me not ask again. With that, then we will adjourn. We will adjourn the work session, and we'll see everybody back at 1:30.
Chair,
I'm sorry. I'm so not used to having personnel matters. We do have a personnel matter to discuss in executive session.
Okay. So one personnel matter for executive session, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry about
If
that.
I can have a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purposes of personnel. Mr. Durrett moves. May I have a second? Ms. Jones seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right. We're now in executive session.
Time seeing it, hearing about it, no information, no context. So just, is this standard procedure to not have upfront information or context? Or have you all already vetted this and just are looking for us to vote on this resolution?
You're talking about outside of the comments that I made earlier? Yeah, I think this is the first time that we're talking about it publicly with the group. We have had other employees leave like Manjeet left to a position with a firm that was doing business with MARTA, but at the time that we broached the board, he was still an employee, so we were able to do that in session. I think those are the choices we have with in Melissa's case.
There's been about 6 or so in the last handful of years where the board has approved these pursuant to the waiver ability in the ethics code. If they're taking a job as they're leaving, we try and do it in executive session where we can have a conversation about it and then come out and take the vote during the regular meeting. In this case, Ms. Molinax got the job offer, I believe, last week. And so this is what we're trying to time it to get it done.
Okay, and I just want to clarify, this is not about the person specifically, it's about the procedure, because I just wasn't aware and didn't know if I had missed any information or context, and it's hard to vote on something, yea or nay, especially when it's in regard to ethics without any context.
All right, Ms. Blakely, so will we have discussion and context brought to this? Or are we just expected to gloss over it and sign it? Like, I have no issue with Melissa personally, but I do want to understand, like with Manjeet, I because, I guess because we were able to discuss it, but like with this, it's kind of like being blind, you know, to Yura's point, it's like being blindsided with, you know, with the expectation that we'll just sign off on it. But I do want to understand, like, I think since it's been added to other matters for the Board of Directors meeting, that certainly discussion and or questions are appropriate there. I know that during our officers pre-brief, I believe that there was not any allowable, you know, contact, anything of that nature until her position was terminated. So the first time we were informed about it was the officers pre-brief that was Friday. Mr. Andrews?
Yeah, so on the pre-brief is when we were first made aware, a little before that she had gotten the offer. So there was really nothing to discuss. At the end of the day, what this comes down to is HNTB has multiple contracts with the authority, and the way that the ethics code is written is very narrow, and that it says that if they do engage anybody from MARTA, they would have to terminate their current contracts. And either try and get them back after 6 months or bid on contracts after that 6-month period. It's a little on the draconian side, but that's what our ethics code says. And, you know, to do that would be, you know, detrimental to the authority at this point. And so that's basically everything in a nutshell, is why this is being requested.
Except in the same section, section 13, that, as Peter said, is quite draconian. It also says, however, the board has the ability to waive this. So in the very same section, they give us the information and the ability to do that. So I think that the key issue here is that she didn't have a job offer prior to last week, as Peter said, and so that may be the difference. With Manjeet, he had a job offer before he left.
With this, I know with him, his position would be totally outside of any type of engagement with MARTA. Is that the same true for her in her position with HNTB?
I don't even know what she's doing with HNTB.
Okay.
To be perfectly honest with you.
Okay.
I know that they're a very large organization, and we have no intention at this point to engage Melissa on any of our contracts. This is just writ large a waiver for the company, but we would tell you if we had something in mind for her, but we do not.
Yeah, even with Manji, I think there was a handful of items that we said that he should not be engaged on, but after the 6 months ran, he could be part of those. Yeah. Same thing that will occur for Melissa or anybody else who leaves after that initial 6 months. If MARTA and HNTB thinks that Melissa or wherever Manjeet went felt that he or she were the best options for those services, then they could be engaged.
So does this, and again, I haven't read it, does this outline the same type of things, like, she won't be engaged in these contracts for that 6-month period, and then, beyond that, it's appropriate? Yeah,
that's basically what the ethics code allows the waiver for, so HNTB can keep it. The items that we picked on Manjeet were the ones that he actually was part of the evaluation committee, or was overseeing directly through the planning stage, and that would create an ongoing conflict potentially in those situations. And he agreed and I think suggested those projects candidly, if I recall correctly.
So do we need to adjust the ethics code? Because it happened with him, it happened with her, and I'm sure it's gonna happen again. Like, do we need to address this? And I don't know if it's even in here.
No, I don't, I'll defer to Justice Sears because she just went through the ethics code. I think with the waiver provision for the entity, it's probably the best way, but I'll defer.
I think it is probably the best way to go. It just sounds to me that you guys are concerned about not getting enough information in advance about it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and we got to do better the next time.
I got you.
Okay, that's what I think is the problem.
Okay, and last question.
Okay.
So with this code and the ethics, what is the intent of it? Like, what is the 6 months? Like, is it even necessary? Is it, do we need to revise that to be 3 months somewhere down the road, or?
So the intent of it is to ensure that a employee leaving here cannot automatically walk into a vendor and help manipulate getting a new contract. That's the real intent. It used to be 1 year. Yeah, it used to be 12 months, and it rolled back to 6 months 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
So that was the real intent. I don't think it was really intended to force them to drop a contract that they're in the middle of, but it was more to ensure that, new work wasn't promised as they walked out the door.
Okay. Mr. Frierson?
Yeah, and to that point, that's what I wanted to make a comment on. That is that when you have an employee that leaves not in good standing, and they abruptly leave or terminated, and they go to seek employment someplace else, this allows us to restrict that. And so, and I think that's a good thing to have. And of course, we do, in my opinion, when we have good employees that leave the enterprise and want to work for other institutions, if they're not in conflict with what we're doing here, I wouldn't want to be one to stop them from moving forward in their career. So many people transfer right now. I see so many ex-employees that have worked for MARTA in other spaces across this transit system, and are doing well. And so, but I would say that we've used this for an employee that left us, that was a disgruntled employee, and we fired or some other reason, and we didn't want to allow them the ability to move on without saying something about it. Right?
Ms. Hardage?
I was just going to echo what Mr. Frierson just said, but add that since I've been here, this has probably happened 3 or 4 times that I'm aware of, and it's the same issue. The employee left in good standing, but within a couple months is now working for a company that somehow is affiliated through contracts with MARTA. It doesn't mean that they're going to get any preferential treatment. It's easy to say that for 6 months that we don't really see them, and I understand that, but at the end of the day, I don't think that this is meant to give anything other than just the green light to let them hire one of our employees, which in the end is probably good for us.
Ms. Jones?
Yeah, just wanted to say thank you for the context. As a freshman board member, this is the kind of information and communication that would have been highly helpful beforehand, even if it was just an email, because I just don't like voting blindly, no matter what it is, and especially when we were talking about the code of ethics. So just wanted to clarify that again and say thank you for the context and set an expectation for that type of communication.
All right, thank you. Seeing no more questions? will call to order the November 14th, 2024 Board of Directors meetings. Mr. Andrews, do you have any public comments to report via email or voicemail?
There are no public comments from email or voicemail. We do have in-person ones that I think you have before you.
I do. I have several in-person comments, so let me remind everyone, if you have not participated in public comment before, that public comment is limited to 2 minutes. The public will not be allowed to yield or donate time to other speakers. The public comment portion of the meeting will not exceed 45 minutes. If the 45-minute time limit is reached before public comments are completed, public comments will be suspended and the board meeting will commence. Public comments will resume at the end of the board meeting. I'm going to take them in the order in which they are received. Angelo Kuzizi, can you please tell me how to pronounce your name?
It's Kukuza.
Kukuza.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So good afternoon, members of the MARTA board, Chair Powers, CEO Greenwood. My name is Angelo Kukuza, and I am the organizing director for the Transport Workers Union of America, AFL-CIO. As you could probably tell from my accent, I'm clearly not from the Atlanta area. And while I may not be from these parts, I have been diligently working with many of your supervisory operational support employees for the last 4 years. Together, they have spent many months working collectively as they seek union representation by way of the MARTA Act with the TWU. In fact, this worker-led committee has gathered over 85% of their co-workers' signatures as a showing of interest for joining the TWU by way of a confidential ballot election. They are hopeful that their ability to organize will be granted, and if successful, TWU would be committed to working together with MARTA management and this board to assure continued robust federal transit funding to make sure your transportation agency receives maximum such funding for years to come. Our Government Affairs Department in Washington, D.C. has been active for years, working to increase federal funding earmarked for transit operational costs. We've already seen the positive results of this relationship as we now have, for the first time, bipartisan legislation in the House and Senate to support transit operations. The TWU's long-lasting relationships in Washington, D.C. and across the country are helping to generate more transit funding. TWU has been incredibly successful in ensuring that federal grant requests are given the highest priority when funds are being dispersed to agencies where we represent workers. On a personal note, I've been working together with some of the folks you will hear from today. These workers take tremendous pride in their daily responsibilities at MARTA, and I am proud of the bonds I have formed with each of them. I ask that you please consider their request for an election to be represented by the Transport Workers Union of America and grant such request for the betterment of their families, for the incredible community of the riding public at MARTA. I thank you all for your time, and I wish you all a safe and wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. Charna Arnold.
Good afternoon. My name is Charna Arnold, and I'm a Safety Operational Officer for the Department of Safety and Quality Assurance. I am a co-lead organizer for the Transport Workers Union campaign here at our authority. Thank you for taking time to be here today and for listening to me. I'm here to notate one good reason why a new union would be beneficial to our authority: balance. A new union is essential in advancing the interests, rights, and well-being of specific groups that are not represented by an existing union. A new union can enable a more responsive representation that will align a different set of employees with the current union and allow members to set their own priorities and collectively bargain in a way that will directly address their issues while creating a stronger, unified voice. By establishing a new union that is responsive, flexible, and tailored to specific challenges, non-represented workers can secure the tools that they need to advocate for better working conditions and a voice in policies that affect their lives day to day. That is what Transport Workers Union will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Quint Kimbrough.
All right, good afternoon, members of the board, colleagues, guests. My name is Quint Kimbrough. I am the rail control instructor here at MARTA, and I am the lead organizer of this union campaign. So thank you for this opportunity to speak today. I'd like to discuss this initiative that could strengthen MARTA, which is organizing a union for our supervisors through the Transport Workers Union. Why? Our supervisors are the backbone of MARTA's daily operations, managing personnel, ensuring safety, and addressing customer needs. So by establishing a union, we give them a voice, one that can advocate for fair conditions, leading to a more engaged and motivated workforce. When supervisors feel valued and secure, they're more committed to delivering excellent service, which directly benefits our customers. A union can also improve retention, saving us training costs and preserving critical institutional knowledge. Experienced supervisors help us operate more efficiently and enhance our service quality. Additionally, a union fosters communication by creating structured channels for dialogue between management and employees. This can help us proactively address issues and foster collaboration. Unionized workplaces often prioritize safety and well-being. When supervisors feel supported, they're better able to focus on their duties, creating a safer and more reliable experience for everyone. By partnering with the TWU, MARTA can build a fairer, more transparent environment, enhancing our reputation and helping us attract top talent. Ultimately, this leads to better service, smoother operations, and a stronger commitment to the people that we serve. In closing, creating a union for supervisors isn't just about supporting our workforce, it's about building a MARTA that's better equipped to serve Atlanta. Thank you for considering this vision for a stronger, more resilient organization.
Thank you. Dexter Harry.
Good afternoon, MARTA Board and MARTA members, manager members. I've been here at this company for 27 years. Now, what I have observed is very little change that benefited the transportation system here at MARTA. Although MARTA is a transit organization, it hasn't moved forward in many of the things that are expected for a growing community, city, or even public transportation. It is simply stuck. Now, why? Although management has designed and defined goals, ideas, and plans, it is usually through frontline supervisors that the organizational plans are implemented. That accountability is given to the supervisors, who individually do it their own way. Now, simply put, no unity to accomplish MARTA's business plan. Many frustrated riders, workers, supervisors, foremen, rail supervisors, bus supervisors, what has happened? They've simply left the system, frustrated on how it is and what's happening. So, what will bring benefit? I believe TWU will bring structure for MARTA supervisors, giving supervisors a cohesive membership to progressively grow and to accomplish MARTA's ridership goals and plans. Transportation or Transport Workers Union is well known throughout the whole country. So they will establish and already established proven abilities in order to bring management and workers together. And I just simply ask the board to take a look seriously because it makes sense to bring them aboard. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron Smith.
Good evening, everybody, the board members. My name is Aaron Smith. I am the Senior Railcar Maintenance Supervisor here at MARTA. Like I said, I've been here for 13 years. The union would be a great the union would be a great addition to MARTA. This would give us a better pool of supervisors, which would give the the union, which would give the please excuse me, which would give the authority a better pool of supervisors. We do not have a competitive salary as far as other unions have had in the past. And in closing, the union would be a great addition to our organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Howard Harris.
Good afternoon. My name is Howard Harris. I'm a bus instructor here at MARTA. I've been here for 8 years, 2 years contractor, and 6 years permanent. MARTA's the best job that I've ever had. But it's not just where I work, it's the people I work with. I work with over 100 years of seniority in my office. Everybody's there is a work family, a part of my family. There's no greater feeling than seeing the people that I've trained out on the road moving MARTA around the city and town. And a wise man once told me that if you love what you do, you're never really working. And that's who I am right now. MARTA is one of the, not only the only job that I've ever had that it wasn't unionized. I spent 8 years with the AFL-CIO and in my 20s, and I spent 20 years in the Labor's Union, International Labor's Union in California, in Northern California as well as Southern. And I moved to Texas and spent 15 years in the Teamsters Union. All right? Sorry, I'm on my phone. To me, union means accountability and mutual expectations between employees as well as management, while also providing security in our roles. While I love my job at MARTA, I believe the union could make it even better, offering reassurance for all the future representing MARTA in an incredibly rewarding way, right? And together, union could help with building a legacy for generations to come. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Alan Babalinsky.
Hello, MARTA Board, Ms. Segura-Jones, Mr. Frierson, Mr. Pond. This is something that I've been working on a little bit since March. I handed out a printout a little bit earlier. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about was this misconception that I had over time about the performance of the streetcar. Something that everyone always says during the conversation is the streetcar's always stuck in traffic. And as a data person, I wanted to find out whether that was true. So I went over on the KPI website for MARTA and found out that the streetcar numbers were not there. So I reached out via social media to MARTA Transit. So thank you so much for the marketing department. I don't know, Ms. Fisher, if that's under your umbrella. But they told me to file an open records request, which I did in March. I did not receive the information until October, but I did receive the information and did some quick math in Excel and was able to provide you with the information that is in the handout that I gave you. As you can see, since MARTA took over the streetcar, performance has not only gotten better, but it has become more and more stable, meaning that riders can experience the same type of level of on-time performance regardless of when they're actually out there waiting for the streetcar. Something that I've seen myself. I've jogged to the corner of the street to go check whether it's actually going to be on time, despite the transponders not currently working on the streetcar. That all being said, with further analysis, if you take a look versus the rest of the system, streetcar is actually very similar in performance to the heavy rail. So because I thought I would have 3 minutes, I'm going to keep this really brief. So my unsolicited advice here would be to add the KPIs for the streetcar to your website so that we are able to see this in public. Actually promote this information to the public during public meetings whenever the point is brought up. And lastly, I can only imagine that we're going to see better and further improvements with traffic light synchronization as well as dedicated right-of-way as part of the streetcar expansion. So thank you so very much. If you have any questions, my contact information is on the sheets themselves. And of course, you can probably also get it from Ms. Segura-Jones over here, or Mr. Frierson, or Mr. Pond. I think I've shared my card with all three of them. Thank you so much, and have a good one.
All right, thank you. Kyle Varnado.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Kyle Varnado. I'm a transit enthusiast, and I generally have places to be and things to do 7 days a week. For the last 12 months, Atlantans have dealt with single tracking on the north-south lines for 80% of weekends, and that's 76% on the east-west line. This is honestly a pretty embarrassing number. And it's been getting worse over the last 4 years. So in 2021, 65% of Saturdays had single tracking on the north-south line. In 2021, 65, 2022, 67% of Saturdays. 2023, we had 79% of Saturdays, and then year to date, when I ran these numbers, it was 88% of Saturdays had single tracking in 2024. And I reviewed the MARTA's maintenance logs. There's like short sections of track that are taken out at a time. One weekend at a time they'll be taken out, and these sections are so short that I and a couple of others have questioned the true need for single tracking with 24-minute headways and only one line serving the airport. This system was designed for 90-second headways, which would be pretty incredible. So I think it should be the priority of this board to run and improve weekend service levels while still performing the necessary track maintenance. There has to be a way to do both. No other transit agency in North America is single tracking as extensively as MARTA. And actually, just this morning, the DC Metro released record ridership numbers for the month of October, which is incredible for them. And after all, MARTA's success is a two-way street. If MARTA runs frequent and reliable service, the Atlantans will flock to the system and return to the system naturally, without having to be asked. Capital projects and other improvements mean nothing to our riders if the trains don't run frequently and reliably. Trains and buses don't run frequently and reliably 7 days a week and 365 days a year. If this board cares about, I can leave it there. If you care about the ridership numbers, you can find a way to run normally weekend scheduled service. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment portion of the meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the October 10th, 2024 board meeting minutes? If I can have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Ms. Hyde, I think we're still waiting on your vote. All right, the minutes have been approved. We'll move now to the board committee reports. The Business Management Committee, Mr. Durrett.
Madam Chair, the Business Management Committee met on Thursday, October 24th, 2024, and approved the following resolutions. A, resolution authorizing the modification and contractual authorization for the Trapeze Master Agreement, RFP P34149, and B, resolution authorizing a modification and contractual authorization for Risk Management Information Software as a Service, RFP P44741. I request approval of these resolutions.
If I can have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. All right, the resolutions have passed.
The committee also received the following briefing. fiscal year 2025 first quarter financial highlights and financial performance indicators. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll move now to Planning and Capital Programs Committee. Ms. Blakely.
Madam Chair, the Planning and Capital Programs Committee met on Thursday, October 24th, 2024, and approved the following resolutions. A resolution authorizing the solicitation of qualification statements for the procurement of final design services for the Campbellton Rapid Project, AE 50620. And B, resolution authorizing the award of a contract for electric vehicle equipment, RFP P50610, utilizing the Federal General Services Administration, also known as GSA, contract. I request approval of these resolutions.
All right, if I can have a motion and a second. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Yeah, I don't like those resolutions. They're fixing it.
They're fixing it? All right. All right, the resolutions pass.
The committee also received the following briefings. C, DBE presentation on planning, infrastructure, and construction contracts. Operational impacts for upcoming capital work at Indian Creek Station Rehabilitation Pedestrian Bridge, and the AT&T Utility Relocation Agreement. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Blakely. We'll move now to Operations and Safety. Mr. Pond.
Madam Chair, the Operations and Safety Committee met on Thursday, October 24th, 2024, and approved the following resolutions. A, resolution authorizing the award of a contract for non-revenue vehicles, RFPP P50597, utilizing the State of Georgia contract. B, resolution authorizing the award of a single source contract for cloud-based operating system, RFPP P50606. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
All right. If I can have a motion and a second. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The resolutions pass. All right, now we'll move to other matters. Mr. Andrews.
Yes, ma'am. There's one other matter. It's a resolution granting a waiver from the MARTA Code of Ethics to HNTB to contract with MARTA while Melissa Molnax is employed by HNTB prior to the 6 months from the conclusion of her voluntary termination of her employment with MARTA. Whereas Melissa Molnax held the position of Chief of Staff and Chief Administrative Officer until October 11, 2024, having tendered her voluntary resignation on September 3, 2024, and whereas the MARTA Code of Ethics as amended on October 10, 2024, Section 13 is interpreted to prohibit MARTA from contracting existing and future contracts with a vendor that employs a former MARTA employee within 6 months from the termination of employment date. And whereas HNTB currently has multiple contracts with MARTA and may seek future new contracts with MARTA during the 6-month period established in Section 13 of the MARTA Code of Ethics, and whereas the MARTA Code of Ethics Section 13 authorizes the Board of Directors to waive the prohibition in Section 13, and whereas Section 1 of the MARTA Code of Ethics designates the Board of Directors as the decision maker on a waiver from the code, and whereas the Board of Directors have reviewed the request and found that HNTB should not be prohibited from contracting with MARTA within 6 months of Ms. Molnax's leaving her employment with MARTA. Now, be it therefore resolved by the Board of Directors of the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority on the 14th day of November 2024 that a waiver from the provisions of Section 13 of the MARTA Code of Ethics or any other provision of the Code of Ethics prohibiting HNTB from maintaining existing contracts or entering into new contracts during the 6-month period following the conclusion of Ms. Molnax's employment with MARTA is hereby granted.
All right, if I can have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Durrett, your light is on. Okay. Mr. Zagabe?
Just a quick question on the resolution. Just confirming, this is a resolution that allows HNTB to continue to contract with MARTA, but any former employee within that 6-month window could not be contracted on a contract with MARTA, correct? So there wouldn't be no direct interaction.
Mr. Andrews?
That's correct.
Okay, great.
Any further discussion?
The only thing I'd say is, yeah, totally supportive, and, you know, one of the things that I always think about with these is just, you know, making sure that MARTA has great talent, that our partners aren't coming to grab talent from MARTA and, you know, bring it back to us. So, totally supportive, given that piece. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The resolutions have passed. Are there any other matters to come before the board? Mr. Durrett.
I just wanted to say in the context of this meeting how much I and the rest of the board appreciate how hard, Kali, you and your staff have worked with the mayor's administration to resolve any differences, and that we're now able to begin to make tangible progress on the renovation of the 5 Point Station. So well done.
Thank you, Jim.
Anything else? Seeing none, we are adjourned.